we go. What is going on? We are back in the shop. It's cold outside, and it's only supposed to get colder over the next few days. So we're bundled up. I even have a little heater going over there to try and keep the chill off because I don't like the cold. Anyhow, last time we got the little small block running in the 65. I was really happy about that. But we did have a few minor things that we needed to address after we got it running. So that's what we're going to do today. The water neck, the gasket I used there, which I'll tell you more about that when I'm changing it, apparently didn't seal, and we've got a weepy leak there. So I went and dug around, and I had another gasket on the shelf to put on there. So that's good. I was frustrated with the carburetor situation, so when I swapped the Holley off of there for the AVS2, the Edelbrock carburetor, I pulled the half-inch phenolic spacer off because it was soaked in fuel along with the gaskets that were on there. They were completely saturated. So I just threw it aside and I grabbed a 1-inch spacer, aluminum spacer, and threw it in there because the carb studs that I put in were too long to use without a spacer, and I had planned on running a spacer, but I didn't plan on running a 1-inch spacer, and nor do I want to run an aluminum spacer. So we're going to go ahead and put a phenolic spacer back on there. So we got to swap that out, and then that'll get our carburetor back down a little bit. We don't need it all the way up there where the 1-inch spacer puts it. That also really intrudes on our hood clearance with our air cleaner. All things that can be overcome, but I know if I go back to a half-inch spacer, the air cleaner setup that I have is going to work, and it's probably going to be a little bit better for our throttle linkage. Speaking of throttle linkage, gas pedal has been an ongoing problem, and I don't know if you can see this, but that cable garbage that was in there, yeah, that's already out. I already pulled that out of there. They just don't work on these cars. I did some research on it, looked around, and nobody uses that type of setup on these cars with a carburetor. If you were running a throttle body or a tune port style or an LS style motor with the throttle body up in the front, that cable setup will work because you have more room for the cable to go from over here over to the middle, and it can come around. But with where the linkage is in the carburetor, and it's so close to the firewall and the way the pedal's set up, it just doesn't work well. So and then to compound that, it had this, what was probably either a low car or a clone of a low car gas pedal. These work great in hot rods. They don't work great in these cars. A lot of hot rods or pickups or whatever, you can use these with the cable setup and it'll work great. Just, they don't work good in these cars. There's not a good flat spot on the firewall to actually bolt that to, and you just don't get a good angle or routing for your throttle cable. So we got that out of there. This, which is kind of hard to, if you've never seen one before, you might not think that's what it is, but this is a OEM V8 for Chevy II. This is what the gas pedal setup actually looks like. It bolts in from the engine bay side, which would have been way easier to install when I had the heads off, or if you have the motor out, that's the time to put this in. But it is doable with the motor in. You kind of have to fight with it a little bit to get the bolts in there. It's doable. So we're going to install this guy, which will go back to a mechanical linkage instead of a cable. Well, I guess cable is mechanical, but it'll go to a rod linkage, and we'll use this adjustable turnbuckle setup to go from the pivot arm here out to the carburetor. That still leaves us with the kickdown. I got another bracket deal that's supposed to work with the Edelbrocks for the kickdown. I just don't know if it's going to work with the the throttle army doohickey. So we'll have to fiddle with that a little bit. And then in the last video, if you did watch to the end, you heard the car running. There we did have a lifter tick. I'll show you where that's at. I do already, as you can see, I've already got one of the valve covers off. The other one's unbolted, but I haven't pulled it off yet. But we'll identify where that lifter tick is, do an adjustment on that, and hopefully we can just knock all those things out, and this will be that much closer to be ready to go for a test drive. Don't know if that'll happen today. Not sure if it'll happen in this video. That's going to depend on how things go or if I run into another problem that's going to prevent that. But either way, we're going to make some more progress. We're going to connect the Symphony to the conductor. Hopefully we'll get the Symphony connected to the conductor and be ready to try and take it for a test drive. That's the goal. Be ready for a test drive, and a test drive would be cool. Anyway, let me get the camera propped up over here, and we'll jump on to the, what do we do first? Which one do we want to do first? We'll do the lifter first. Yeah, we'll do the lift, check the lifters first, and then we'll go on from there. So the cold is affecting my my adjustable mount a little bit, and it's kind of not wanting to stay upright. So if the camera goes whoop, sorry about that. You just got to hang with it. Not that you're going to have a choice. Anyway, so that valve cover's off. I also did disconnect all my plug wires. Again, as long as you know where your number one is, it's always easy to route them back out again off the distributor. So it's easy, just disconnect them, get them out of your way when you're doing stuff like this. That way, and if you use wire keepers, that helps with keeping them organized. But once they're out of the way, it's a lot easier for working on stuff over here. With the lifters, what we're looking for, and we'll have to roll the motor over a little bit because this one obviously is under compression. You can see it's pushing the valve down, so we won't actually be able to check the if the preload's right on the push rod. But what we're looking for is no up and down movement and a little bit of resistance to wanting to spin the push rod. So if it jiggles up and down at all, that's too loose. On a hydraulic flat tappet or even a hydraulic roller, you have to have preload on the lifter that's riding down on the cam. So that should be a 0 lash plus half a turn on the of preload, which I didn't even get the tools out. I don't even have the tools to adjust these. Anyway, it's really easy to check them. In short, you just come in here and if you can, so this one's got a little bit of side to side, which is okay. That's not going to hurt anything. It should have a little bit of side to side. I can spin it freely, but I can't wiggle it up and down. So this one's probably just a little bit loose. We'll probably put a quarter turn of preload on that to put just a little resistance on spinning it. The next one, this one has up and down. This was probably our lifter tick that we had while we were running. I can actually wiggle it up and down. There's definitely play in there. So that one definitely will get adjusted. That's under compression right now, pushing a valve, so we can't check that at the moment. The next one, this is going to be closed, and that's got a little bit of resistance and 0 up and down play, so that one's good. The next one, that's under a little bit of pressure on that valve, so we can't check that one. That one's good. I can just barely rotate the push rod. No up and down play, just a little side to side like it's supposed to have. Back here, this one's a little bit loose. We got a little bit of side to side on that one, and I can spin it really free, so we'll probably put a little bit more preload there. And this is under compression, so we can't actually check that one right now. So what I'm gonna do, let me grab the wrench and the box wrench that I need and the Allen wrench that I need, so we can actually adjust these, and we'll check the other side before we rotate the motor over. Then we'll turn the motor over a rotation to take these that are in compression currently, which is going to be the intake on number 3 and the exhaust on number 7, and it looks like the exhaust on number 5 is actually under a little bit of compression at the moment too. So we'll do the ones that we know are known loose, like especially the intake on number 1, and we'll repeat the same thing on the other side. I'll actually do both sides at the same time, so I only have to rotate the motor 1 or 2 times to be able to do everything. Yeah, and that should eliminate our lifter tick. So let me grab some tools and I'll get to it. So right now, I'm not moving the 9/16 box wrench. That's holding on to the actual adjuster, and I'm just backing off the set screw down in the center of the polylock. That's going to allow me to adjust how much tension is on the lifter. I'll just set this over here out of the way, and then like I said, I'll grab the push rod, and then I'm spinning it. Like I said, there's no vertical play in this one, and we'll just put about 1/8 of a turn on it, and that should do it. Just a pinch too much. Yep, I can just barely rotate the push rod. And then again, keep your wrench on there. That's going to hold your polylock in place. And then you just tighten that set screw back up. And there we go. That one's adjusted. There's just a little bit of resistance on there. Perfect. That one's super smooth. We can just spin it free, and we know there's a little bit of up and down in that, which we don't want. We'll just repeat. Now, if you're setting up brand new lifters for a break-in, there is a specific way to set them to ensure that you get a good starting preload. This wasn't brand new. If you've watched any of the previous videos, you know that this cam was already in here. These lifters are already in here. All we did was a head and intake change. I'm not trying to get an initial preload. I'm just trying to get a good adjustment on it so that we have a good tension on the lifters that are there. If I do a full initial preload, which is 1/2 to 3/4 of a turn, that could give us cam problems since these lifters are already broke into this cam. So we just want to make sure that there's no play and a little bit of preload on these. Too much preload could cause the premature lifter or cam lobe failure. So yeah, we're gonna wiggle it just a little bit. That's probably about a 1/4 turn on this one. There we go. The up and down is gone. Now we just have a little bit of spin. Yep. And we are there, right there. That's where we want that one. And we tighten the set screw back up. And just barely rotate the push rod, and we have no up and down play. That's going to take care of our lifter tick. So I'll probably buzz this up into some fancy high-speed video shot while I go through and do the rest of them. Enjoy. Our valves are now, our rockers are all adjusted, lifters adjusted, however you want to say it. So that's all good. So we can put the valve covers back on. I won't put the driver's side back on yet because I need to get in right back here to install our gas pedal. So I'll throw this back together, plugs and everything real quick off camera, and we'll move on to the next fun bit. Passenger side is buttoned up. Spark plugs are all back in, valve covers bolted back down, reconnected the PCV. Set on the passenger side. As you can see, like I said, the driver's side is still not on. Let me get the kick down out of the way. Because having the valve cover off is going to give me a little bit more room to wiggle the gas pedal into place and try and get to the bolts that hold this in there. So this will get bolted back there against the firewall, and we'll have a bolt, 2 bolts in it, high and low, and hopefully they thread in still. Otherwise, that'll be more of a pain in the neck, and I'll have to get the wife out to assist if I have to actually put a bolt that has a nut on the backside. By factory design, it is just a sheet metal bolt that goes through here and threads directly into the firewall. So as long as those holes aren't totally mutilated, we should be able to bolt the stock assembly back in place. They do also, in stock format, there's a pedal that snaps onto 2 studs in the floor and just rests against this nub right here, and this slides up and down on the back side of the pedal. I can't quite put that in at the moment because part of the floor repair we did on this, or our temporary patchwork, was over where those studs go, and that was a little rusty and crusty right there. So I'll have to actually wait until we get the floor repaired properly to put a factory pedal in, or I might come up with something else to put on here to give me a better gas pedal. But in the meantime, it's drivable on just this. Not necessarily comfortable, especially if you've got a heavy spring. So we'll hope that we can get it to where it's doable for now. I have seen people just weld a little plate on here so that works. But we'll see. It's one step at a time. First is making the throttle actually work from the engine compartment, and then, or work from the passenger compartment, i.e. the driver's seat. Once we have that, then we can address what we'll do about improving comfort level of driving. Installing this pedal assembly would be much easier if the motor wasn't in the way, or even if the head was off. But I'm not taking the head back off to do this, so basically there's a hole right down there in the firewall where that drops in. You can see there's that plate with the 2 holes, and that will go right there like that. Okay, now the top bolt is going to be easy to get to. It's the bottom bolt that's going to be a pain in the neck, and hopefully we will be able to get it in there. Where's Where's the opening? There it is, right there. And because this is such a tight space, I highly doubt you can even see what it is I'm doing other than struggling. Because I can't even see what I'm doing. Okay, first one's in the right spot. Now comes the fun part, which, now, I'm actually, I know you can't see it, but I'm crawling into the engine bay because I think that's the only way I'm going to be able to get my hand down here where it needs to be. Watch, here comes the foot. See if I can get it up here. Nope, can't get it up there. There we go, right there. Yeah, we're getting all up in here now. Oh, oh man. Yeah, taking the first bolt back out because I can't see where the second one's at. Oh, this would have been so much easier with the motor not in, or with the head off. It would have just been right there. Bottom bolt tightened up properly. And there we go. The top one's tight. So that, in short, what I've proved there is that you can install a factory V8 pedal assembly with the head with an engine in the car and a head and intake and everything on there. And that will be our gas actuation. Our happy pedal right there. Now, and I wasn't kidding. To do it so that I could get both hands in there and actually reach everything. Hold on, I'm getting the camera loose from where it's holding on to. I'm literally sitting up in the car, which, you know, at least on older cars, that's something you can do. Newer cars, it's all plastic. You try doing this on a newer car, shit's just gonna break all over the place. Who knows what you'll be breaking? Not to mention the fact that there's nowhere near enough room with all the garbage that's in them. But let me get out of here, without killing myself. I'll show you what the pedal looks like on the other side now. Whoa, goodness. Successful. All right. Whoa. Yeah, there we go. Yeah. Then we come up under here and you can see I've still got wiring stuff out. But there's our gas pedal nub right there. That's what it looks like on this side. It will be usable, but like I said, the factory pedal had a full length pedal. I can show you what that looks like because it's still in this car. So you can see it had a full length pedal that nub rode on the back of back here. So, and it had an assembly down underneath, which I don't think I will even be able to see, but it's got an assembly down under here with some studs that go into the floorboard, which is going to be a little bit of a fiasco to get put back into the wagon, but we'll figure that out at some point in the future, or like I said, maybe we'll end up adding a different style pedal, modify the end of that to maybe accept a pedal like this, which wouldn't be too hard. I mean, that's just a pin assembly and a spring, so we might be able to do something like that, modifying the factory pedal to accept something along those lines. Anyway, that's it for that step. Let me, what's next? Oh, we need to swap the spacer out on the carburetor, then we can start working on the throttle linkage. So, yeah, let's move on to that.